Hi friends, Sarah May here with Baja Surf Yoga, and I am just about to finish up a Yoga Nidra teacher training, which I'm really excited about. But what this means is that I'm going to be sharing hopefully even more Yoga Nidra practices with you. And so I thought it would be helpful if I did a quick little video on how we might set up our yoga nidra little meditation nest, right? So you may be thinking like, oh yes, yoga nidra, we practice that in shavasana. Not exactly true. Yoga nidra and shavasana are different, although we are most likely, because it is such a restful practice, we are most likely going to practice lying down or semi-reclined. We can also practice lying on our side. We can also practice lying on our body. And we can practice any way that we would like to, although these postures tend to be most supportive of rest, right? Um, and we do want to be rested and feel rested and give the greatest possible opportunity to really quiet and still body and mind. And we know from just, seated in our typical meditation practice that if there is distraction at all in the body, if there's discomfort in the body, it becomes really difficult to quiet the mind, right? So setting up in a super supportive posture is of great benefit to our practice, right? Really taking the time to do that. So I have some conventional yoga props here, some blocks and bolsters and a blanket. I also have some unconventional props, right? Some pillows and cushions from my house. And I'm going to show you how I typically set up my yoga nidra little nest. And you can, try it out and decide what works for you. And really, it's ultimately all about what works for you, what's going to help you feel most comfortable, most supportive. So I do have a yoga mat as a base, but I always lie down this nice soft cushy blanket because lying on the yoga mat alone is not exactly supportive, and so I like to have a little extra cushioning. I always set up my blanket so that it is supporting my hips and supporting my heels, hips and heels. So I'm going to set this blanket so that it hangs off the edge of my mat a little bit, supporting the hips and heels. And the reason for that is because for me, when I'm in a semi-reclined posture, my hips and my heels tend to be really heavy on the ground, and over time, that ground starts to feel harder and harder and harder. So I like to have a little cushioning under there. So the second step that I do is set up a little ramp for my torso. And the way that I do that is by putting a block at the top of my mat. Getting this out of the way so you can see. And then just taking my yoga bolster and just lying it on this block. Now, I want to show you two kind of pain points that arise when I do this and then how we correct for that. So if I lie down on this ramp exactly as I have it right now, you'll see that the abrupt ending of the ramp really accentuates the curve in my low back. My ribs are splayed out, right? And this is a big lower back bend, and it's going to get uncomfortable over time, right? So low back is the pain point number one. The second pain point is without a pillow and a little bit of extra lift for my head, my chin is up in the sky and there's a little bit of pinching for me in the back of the neck, right? So I'm going to correct for these two pain points by softening this drop off at the end of the bolster with a pillow that I just kind of mush into that spot. And then giving my head a little bit more lift with a pillow, right? With a pillow. So we'll try this out. So when I soften, the ramp at the bottom, I'm a little more neutral in the spine and the low back. And then same thing with the pillow, my chin, back of my neck, a little more neutral, right? So then we have the legs. If I just lay my legs out long, some of that curve comes back to the low back, right? And then over time, because my knees are stretched out, I'm going to feel a little bit of pain in the back of my knees. So to solve for this, knees slightly bent, feet planted, and I'm going to slide a bolster underneath my knees for support. So the general rule is, can we set up in a way so that all the joints are soft and all the joints are supported, right? Soft and supported. So it'll take some adjusting the distance of this bolster behind the knees. Kind of push it down with my feet a little bit. But this feels really supportive for me. And if I wanted to, I could put an extra roll behind the heels. Sometimes I can even roll up my blanket. I don't know if you can see that, but for today, I would rather have the blanket underneath. And yeah, once you feel like I've got it, I've got my posture, I've got my setup, always helpful to just do a little body scan from the tips of the toes all the way up through the top of the head and just asking the question, does each little part of my body feel held and supported and comfortable right now? And is there anything that needs to change? Is there anything that needs to be added, right? The other thing I just want to quickly address is the shoulders, right? Depending on the height of my ramp, you'll see my chest is kind of open, the shoulders are stretching, and I like palms face down on the ground because it's grounding. But this could get a little too stretchy, a little too open, the weight of the arms pulling the chest open over time and start to again cause discomfort. I could solve for that by, if I had two blocks, kind of putting a block under the forearm, under the palm, right? A little less open shoulder. I could also solve for that by taking two more pillows and kind of hugging a pillow under the arm. And that actually feels really good, really supportive. So I could have a pillow under both arms like this, right? And then finally, I just want to address, it's a beautiful sunny day down here in southern Baja. Even though my eyes are going to be closed for the practice, I might want to have a little scarf or something light over the eyes, right? Or an eye mask. And it's nice and warm here today, so I don't need any warmth on top of me, but you do want to think about, okay, I'm supported from underneath. What else do I need on top, right? If there was a cool breeze, I might want a blanket on top of me or socks on my feet or warmth around my feet. And sometimes it feels really good to have like the weight of another bolster or pillow or something at the low belly, right? Or wherever it is. So I encourage you to play with your setup, to really take your time feeling into the setup that's best for you. I also encourage you, once you think, oh, I've got it, this is my setup, to let it change for you every day, every practice, to really be present and ask yourself, what does the body need now? What does the body need today? What does the body need this time so that I feel really at ease so that I feel comfortable in my practice, so that I feel supported in my practice. Because the more we can dial in the physical setup, again, the greater opportunity we're giving ourselves to just completely and fully surrender to the grace of Yoga Nidra, and to really get the most benefit from our practice. So, I hope that is helpful for you, and I hope to practice with you someday soon.